for several years, and he's unsaved. And Frederick witnessed to him. And this uncle of his in the old folks' home up there would make fun of the Bible and laugh at it. And finally Frederick said, why don't you read it instead of making fun of it? He said, okay, you give me a copy and I will read it. So he gave him a copy of the Bible to read. And after about a year, he went back there and asked his uncle, he said, well, did you read it? He said, I read it through twice. And he said, what do you think about it? And he said, nothing. And he said, are you going to get saved, uncle? He said, no, I'm not going to get saved. And he said, what are you going to do then? And he said, his uncle looked at him and said, I'm going to go to hell and take my punishment like a man. No, you're not. There ain't a man this woman is going to go to hell and take your punishment like a man. You're going to go to hell and take your punishment like a screaming animal. Don't you tell me you're going to dwell with third-degree burns for 4 million years and take your punishment like a man. Don't kid me. I've seen them in the burn ward. I've seen them lying there in 2 inches of Vaseline so they don't stick to the bed sheets. Don't you tell me a fellow with even 60% third-degree burns and white phosphorus grenade, 20% second-degree burns, he's going to take it like a man. Don't kid me. Don't kid me. Well, trying to debride him in the pool and tearing that. Don't tell me about it. You're not going to take your punishment like a man. I heard a fellow say one time, he said, hell is God's madhouse, the madhouse of the universe. Why is that? You'll lose your mind. You can't take that kind of pain. You might be able to take that pain for a year if you were very unusual, or 20 years if you were superhuman, but 20 million years with no way out? No, you go crazy. You go crazy. Don't go to hell. Don't go to hell. If you do, you're going to get some surprises in hell. You know what's going to be a surprise for you in hell? It's going to be a surprise for you in the hell to find that you're never going to get out. You're going to be surprised to find the torment never ends. A man had a dream one time. He got saved by a dream, and they asked him what in the dream got him right, and he said this. He said, I dreamt I died and went to hell. And he said, I dreamt when I was in hell. He said, I looked up, and he said, through the fire, he said, I saw a clock up there, like it was on a wall, but he said it was hanging in the air. And he said it was a very unusual clock. And the fellow said, well, what was unusual about the clock? He said it was a very unusual clock because it didn't have any hands on it. There's no time. When you've been there 10,000 years, burning hot as the sun, you've no less days, the suffering blaze than when you first begun. The no time element, gone. You say, why that? It's God. You understand? You see, you don't understand. You don't understand God. Thus saith the Lord, I live forever. If a man sin against God, what's he going to do? He's going to pay for it. How long are you going to pay for it? Just as long as God lives. Amen. There's nothing personal in it. Isn't the Lord got some grudge against you? It isn't God saying, I want personal vengeance on that fellow. I'm going to take it out of him and make him pay. It isn't like that. It isn't like that. It's just real simple. It's real simple. If you sin against me, you can pay for it in a few years. I'm only going to live a few years. If you sin against man, you can pay for it sometime of a lifetime in jail if you kill a man. Maybe 40 or 50 years. Some sins against me could be paid for in 2 or 3 years, a couple of weeks. But let me ask you something. When you sin against God, what then? How do you pay for it? Do you know when you quit paying for your sins? I can tell you when God dies. When God dies, your payment is complete. And until God dies, you're going to pay and pay and pay and pay and pay. And it's going to be a surprise to you. It's going to be a surprise to you to wake up in hell and find out there's no end to the torment, but it goes on forever and ever and ever. You know one of the first things a fellow does when he gets saved? One of the first things he does when he gets saved? He phones up somebody, one of his friends or something, and somebody he knows, and tells them they're going to hell. That's one of the first evidence of salvation. You know why that is? Because when you get saved, the shock is so great to you, you think to yourself, well, man, I've been deceived all these years, and if I've been deceived, they could be deceived. And you tap them on the shoulder and they get mad at you. Isn't that strange? You know, before you get saved, you tell a fellow to go to hell and he laughs at you. Now after you get saved, you try to keep them out of hell and they get mad at you. Isn't that strange? Right after I got saved, I used to play drums in a dance band, well, several dance bands. I played in a hillbilly band. And then I played in some small combos. And then I played with a dance band, a big one, 14-piece band, stock arrangements, Miller and Goodman, that bunch. And when I got saved, I went back to a place called the Diamond Horseshoe in Pensacola, where I used to play with an old hillbilly in a hillbilly band. I played drums in the swing band and played guitar in the hillbilly band. And I went back to see Bill Hendricks there at the Diamond Horseshoe, and he's right in the middle of a number. And he was playing away, and the dancers were all dancing around, you know, and the dust was coming off the floor. Those places are filthy places. Most of those guys die of TB before they're 30 years old. We're playing those places all the time. They're filthy. And I came up there, and he was right in the bridge of a number. He'd sung some, and he was just strumming on his guitar, waiting to sing again. And I came right up on the platform over the microphone where everybody in the dance hall could hear it, and gave him a tract while he was singing. He was strumming the guitar. I gave him a tract and said, "Bill, I want to give you something to read." He says, "Thanks." Goes on hitting it. And I said, "I want to tell you something. I was down here playing drums with you and guitar with you in the band down here. And I said, you know something?" I said, "I found out I was a sinner going to hell." And I said, "I got saved." And I said, "Bill, you know, when I was down here playing with you, I was just an old lost sinner going to hell." And he said, "Shoot, didn't you know that?" Kept strumming. I thought to myself, well, you dirty dog. You dirty dog. I mean, that fellow knew we were all damned the whole time. He had a Christian mother. He knew it. I didn't know. I didn't know. That fellow, he knew the whole bunch of us were lost. I got a friend up there in Canton, Ohio, and one day a guy phoned him up on the telephone and invited him to an Amway party. And he said, "I want to invite you to an Amway party." He said, "Billy, so by the way, I want to tell you, I just got saved." And he said, "I've just been saved now a couple of days, and you need to come to this Amway party. This Amway is the greatest stuff you can possibly get your hands on." And my friend said, "You haven't been saved." And he said, "What do you mean?" He said, "When a man gets saved, he doesn't phone somebody up and say, 'Boy, Amway sure is good.' When a guy gets saved, he phones a guy up and says, 'Hey, you're going to hell.'" Any of you folks know what I'm talking about? If you don't, it's going to be a surprise to you. And it's going to be a surprise to you to see that thing goes on and on and on and on. It doesn't end. Can you imagine a place where there's no sound of babies? No sound of music? You like music? No music in hell. Laughter? You like to hear people laugh? No laughter in hell. Can you imagine being in a place forever and ever where you never hear a bird sing? Never hear a baby laugh? Let me tell you, one of the greatest things you ever hear in the world is a little baby laughing. Yeah, the thing that proves that people aren't animals is the fact they laugh. Animals don't laugh. Not even a laughing hyena. He's just making a racket. The nearest thing you ever see to laugh sometime is a German Shepherd. Once in a while they get a look on their face, you know, it's real kind of human looking. But they can't laugh. You remember your baby, the first time that baby ever laughed? You know what that thing is? That's a gift from God. That's the thing that separates men from animals. Why would the kid laugh? What is a sense of humor anyway? The animals don't have it. The man's got it. Take a little old baby about a year and a half old, 2 years old, he'll be just be going along just like it, and all of a sudden something strikes that kid as funny. And that kid 2 years ago, like that. You wonder what in the world that kid's thinking about. Now listen, you imagine being in a place you never hear a baby cry, never hear a baby laugh. You imagine being in a place you never hear any classical music and never hear any rock music. I don't care for classical. What do you like, rock? You go to hell, you won't get any rock music. There ain't any rock music in hell. Where it's just a drumming. You know what that word tophet means in Hebrew back there in Isaiah? It means drums. The Lord said the valley of Tophet. You know what he's talking about? He's talking about a place down there in Gehenna where they sacrificed their kids to Malcolm and to Dagon. And they sacrificed the babies. And to drown out the babies crying, they beat drums. And those drums were beating the babies would scream and yell. They'd open up the arms of that big metal statue, and they had a fire inside it. They'd take those babies and put them in the fire and burn them. Didn't you ever read that back in the Old Testament? Made his children pass through the fire, made his children pass through the fire, made his children pass through the fire. That's a picture of hell. And that thing roaring in your ears and banging in your ears, day after day, night after night, no way out, no way out. It's going to be a surprise. Folks joke about hell. Hell isn't no joke. Back there years ago, we had a criminal in this country called Black Jack Ketchum. Black Jack Ketchum was hung when he was 25 years old, hung for train robbery and murder. He insisted he never killed anybody, but they insisted he did. And And they hung him when he was 25. He was one of the hardest, toughest men that ever lived. And that guy, when it came time to die, and they put up a stockade around the place going to hang him, he said, take it down, let him see a man die that never killed nobody. Time came to die, and they said, you want a chapel? He said, hell no. Got out there to hang him up. He ran up the steps to the gallows, ran up the steps. Anything you want done? He said, sure, get a fiddler here to play while I'm swinging. A hard man. Got up there, and they put that thing over. They said, anything you like to say before you die? He said, let her rip. They flipped that thing and kicked that thing, and down he went, and the guy had the weights hung on there wrong, and it tore his head loose from his torso. You know what Black Jack Ketchum said to that fellow when he got to the top of the stairs? He said, go on, boy. He said, I'll be in hell before you can eat breakfast. And probably was.